Sorry to keep you waiting, everybody. Tonight's attendance was 17,654. The gate was $2,675,560. We did 4 performance bonuses of the night tonight. Means, Ellenberger, Ferguson, and Ronda Rousey won the performance of the performance. But there were a lot of amazing performances. It was very hard to pick tonight. So those guys who didn't win it, I will send you a check. Don't sweat it. Who's got the first question?
For Ronda, please. I know you said you typically like to map out the first exchange, and that's the only real, solid game planning you do. She kind of set the tone. What was your plan? How did you? What were you planning to do once you got in there?
Well, I'm not going to give that away because I might want to use that again. But I thought that because she'd been hearing so much about being a slow starter during the media buildup, I thought that it was very possible that she'd try to do the exact opposite of that. And I study my own footage a lot and thought that nobody's come at me right away before. And so one of the possibilities I was thinking could come up was that she would come at me straight away. And I didn't plan exactly how it went down, but I was expecting that it could happen.
And the transition that you had in the finishing move, obviously, it was extremely impressive. Is that a sequence that you've drilled or practiced or trained before? Or is that something you just kind of make up on the fly?
No, I made that up on the fly, to be honest. But it was kind of funny. We were going towards the ground, and I kind of reverted back into judo mode and was thinking, "Don't touch your back; it's a point." Something like that's like where the acrobatic, thing came from, is thinking about not touching your back in judo. And then also in judo, you have sometimes only a second transition into the ground. And so all of that, I would say, just was instincts and reactions from a decade and a half doing judo.
You told us earlier in the week that you had a pretty good idea, if things went right, when you'd be fighting again. Is there anything that you can share or that Dana can chime in? Any news on that front?
We had a deal that she was going to go do a movie after this fight. So when she's done with her movie, we'll talk.
Do you have an idea when that might be?
I think we've got to talk first.
Fair enough. And Dana, if I could, just for you, please, because of all the things that happened to this card and the fights that were lost, a lot of people are looking at this as this is the night we test the star power of Ronda Rousey. Is she a draw? Can you give us any early indications of what it's looking like?
Let me tell you this, guys. In the history of combat sports, 2 women headlining a card, 2 women co-main event a card, and I think one of the big things to talk about is how stacked this card was and how it started to kind of crumble. In a situation like this, we did 2 women fought tonight, and there's no doubt, Ronda Rousey, we all know what a huge star she is. What makes a great fight is when the 2 participants in the main event, it's going to be everybody knew that this was going to be a badass fight. It was one of those type of fights. Staples Center in Los Angeles, 17,654 people, a gate of almost $3 million, and pay-per-view trends have been very nice. It's looking like this is going to be a good pay-per-view. No women in the history of combat sports have ever done anything remotely close to this. And, it's awesome. And coming from the guy who said we'd never do women's MMA, I keep getting kicked in the face with that one. But nobody could have predicted how insane this would be. And it's not just the 135-pound division, it's the 100. Anybody was at the Welcome to the Show press conference today, people loved Carla Esparza, and that fight with her and Joanna is going to be awesome. And, there's this thing, Maria Shriver was here tonight because she wanted to see this fight going down at Staples Center, and she's fascinated by this whole thing. And they should be. I say this all the time. There's this thing going on, and I talk about it when you say, a lot of women's sports are ridiculed. It's the WNBA. The women's golf, they hit from shorter tees. Women's tennis, they don't hit as hard. Nobody shits on a Ronda Rousey fight. You know what I mean? More stars than we've ever had out tonight. Place was packed. When those 2 women walked out tonight for the main event, almost 18,000 people were standing out of their seats going crazy. It's incredible. And it's so cool to be a part of something like this.
And just quickly, if I could, for Kat, certainly disappointed. When you look back at it, as you replay it in your mind, is there something you can point to? I made a mistake, whether it be strategy or execution, or is that just how good Ronda is as a fighter?
No, she's really good. That wouldn't happen again, you know. I just want to know what I need to do to get in there again. I mean, who's number 2? I'll fight them. I'll get back. How do I get this again?
We'll make it happen. I need fights. We'll get it done. Whenever you're ready.
Do you think we're at a stage with Ronda where it's kind of like Tyson was? People, it didn't matter who he was fighting. That, you know, some people say, well, I don't want to see a 14-second fight, but yet the pay-per-views are, you know, are so big. Do you think that that's the kind of stage you're at now with her, that no matter who you match her with?
We literally just had this conversation 5 minutes ago. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, she is without a doubt that female version of him. And I told her, we just talked about this, and it got to a point with the Tyson thing where, well, tonight, let's talk about tonight. Tonight, you guys have been around the fight game for a long time. There's very few situations where a fight goes 14 seconds and the crowd is cheering and going crazy and like looking at each other with their mouths open. And everybody knows how awesome Ronda is. But everybody was looking at each other with their mouths open because she was fighting Kat Zingano, you know, and this was going to be a tough-ass fight. And Ronda is definitely there. That's exactly what she reminds me of. And, you know, yeah. The answer is yes. I got some long-winded answers tonight. The answer is yes, Kevin.
Do you think there's anybody else that you can match her with who would be less than a 20-1 underdog? You know, given that Kat is 10-0 or 9-0 with 8 stoppages, was a 9-1 underdog. Anybody would be under 20 in your opinion?
Facing Ronda?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to move her to the men's division and see if the odds will, you know. Yeah, I don't know what to do with this lady.
Ronda, Ronda, when was your hip turned to the right when you had the armbar? Was that where the pressure came from? Because that was a little different. Like you kind of twisted your hip to the right. Is that where the pressure was put on? And was that the armbar?
Yeah, it wasn't straight armbar. It was down to the side. I was practicing doing it from behind the arm. People usually hug it, and I was practicing trying to like tuck it behind my armpit, but from an entirely different angle, like sitting up. And so when I ended up in that position, face down, for some reason, because I'd been training that so much, I'd never done that armbar from that position before.
Really?
I never practiced that once. So we thought of another one.
And Kat, if you can answer, you said when you talked to Joe Rogan that you saw something with her leg. Can you kind of expand on what it was that you saw and you thought you might be able to do there?
It was a knee, and then a throw, and then a scramble, and then my arm she just wrapped around my arm, you know, and I don't know. I got caught. I was ready to do a million different things. I plan on getting in a fist fight tonight, not being done in 15 seconds, you know, so I don't know. I don't know what to say.
And Jake,
I got caught. I'm a better fighter for it. I know what that's like now.
Jake, I was wondering if, like as a person that's trained at Ronda's gym and you've seen what she does, if you can kind of comment on, you see that dominance that she has as another fighter, like how much respect you have, and kind of is it jaw-dropping to see a fighter that's technically that good and maybe the best fighter in the sport pound for pound?
Well, it's by watching how hard she works, it's definitely not a surprise. This is a success she's had, but yeah, she's in this position for a reason.
Dana, last night you went and watched Cyborg fight. Is she a possibility as an opponent for Ronda? Why or why not?
The thing is with Cyborg is making that weight. I mean, I just don't know if she can make the weight. I mean, we talked about if she could make the weight a couple times, we'd see what we could do. But she fought last night. That fight was vicious, but she's definitely not fighting the caliber of fighters that Ronda's fighting right now, and she'd have to fight at 135 pounds.
And there's no way you'd bump Ronda up and weight for it.
Why? Why would the champ go there? It just doesn't make sense. She's a 135-pound champion here. She's dominant. She's, the champ doesn't chase other people. If you want to fight the champ, you go to the champ.
Did Holly do enough to make herself the best possible candidate for Ronda?
Listen, a lot of hype came in around Holly, and, what people have to understand for Holly, it's her first time here. It's her first time in the UFC. And I talked to her about this tonight, too. I was asking her, I don't care how many titles you've won, how many places you fought. When you come in here, it's a completely different ball game. You burn a ton of nervous energy, you dump some adrenaline, and she went in there tonight and she performed. She slid right into the co-main event position, and she did a great job. Let's let her get a couple of fights and, start to feel like the UFC is her house and it's home, and, then move up in the rankings, get some fights. She's got some time to get there.
And is that the way you feel, Holly, too, that you feel like you'd need a couple more fights before getting in with Ronda?
Congratulations to Ronda. That was an impressive win. And really, as a champion, you just don't really see that coming. And Ronda really is, she's very impressive. So I would like to get my feet wet. And I finally got this, first UFC fight over with. I never really pick a fight. I always leave that up to my manager and my trainer. And I'm just really thankful to Dana White and just this opportunity here tonight to be able to come and fight with the UFC. It's definitely an honor.
Question for Ronda Rousey. Ronda, you just you just spoke a second ago about watching some of your fights, realizing that an opponent had not previously come at you like that, and in a sense kind of getting in the head of how your opponent might game plan against you. And I've had conversations with you before where you're not afraid to say, this particular opponent, here's how I might try to beat me. Is that a key area of your training, is to sit there and sort of get out of your own body and imagine you're your opponent, here's how I would try to beat Ronda Rousey?
Yeah, I've really had that approach for a very long time. My mom likes to tell a story. Even when I was 13 years old, I went up to one of my coaches, and the one question I had from him was, if you were coaching someone to try and beat me, what would you tell them to do? And that's kind of always been my thought, is not so much what do I have to do to beat individual people, but what do I have to improve about myself to make myself unbeatable.
A question for Tony Ferguson. Tony, obviously, biggest win of your career, and you told me earlier this week that you had started using the Darce choke that you'd become known for as a setup for other things, and it looked like you were going for it before you took the back and finished with the rear naked choke. Was that what you were talking about? Did we see that in action tonight?
Yeah, I knew I didn't want to get a non-dominant position. I had the guillotine in the first part, and I didn't want to give him the underhook for the Darce choke, but it's something I used in my Kikuno fight to set up something different. It worked. You saw it in there. It worked.
And there was also a point when you took his back that it looked like you were looking up at one of the big screens. Were you using that to kind of watch his face to see if he might be close to going out? It looked like you might be looking at the screen.
No, I was just keeping calm. I was just looking up, just being patient. One of my coaches, 10 Planet, over in Orange County, Costa Mesa, we went over this before. Stay calm, stay patient, be like molasses on his back, and start counting. Start counting 1 to 10 when I'm taking that choke. And I was already at 5 before he tapped.
Lastly, for Jake Ellenberger. Jake, obviously important to get in the win column tonight, but the finish on top of that with that north-south. First of all, when you had that choke, did you sense well before the referee stopped it that Josh might be going out? Because it looked like he was in it for a while.
Well, he kept his head down a lot. And I feel like when he was going for a takedown, he was just kind of staying there, holding position. He wasn't really looking to finish the takedown, and he kept his head down. So when I went for the choke, I don't think he really respected it, and went from there. I was trying to put him all the way out.
Thanks.
Question for Ronda. What did you say to Kat afterward? Over here. Sorry, fighting. What did you say to Kat afterwards? She was down, and I could tell you were pretty devastated after the way that ended. You actually came over to her and said something to her. What did you say?
I said that we should do this again. And I think she definitely deserves another shot. And, sometimes fights just go down like that. I'm lucky to have a lot of experience in judo. And there were times that I walked out and I just got dumped on my head right away. And I just wasn't myself that day. And it didn't mean that I didn't deserve to be in that fight or that I couldn't beat that other person. It was just that for some reason I wasn't there. And I understand that feeling. And I know that what Kat is capable of, and I would definitely like to see more of what she's capable of.
Kat, just in that moment when you were down on the ground, what were you feeling? And just
I was thinking exactly that. Like, how many tournaments I've been to, how many competitions I've done throughout my life, that you just have that match where you go out and you just get smoked, and it's not right. It's not. I mean, please don't do your little magic and say I'm saying something I'm not. She's good, you know. There's a reason she's champion. But like, I didn't go out there and perform to my best today, and I got caught, and that sucks, and I'm pissed, and I have a lot of respect for her, and it's, you know, I was just stunned and speechless, and, you know, caught in that moment.
do you have sort of a sense that it's important for you, but it's also important for the sport for you to push her?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, like, some things in life you don't get on the first shot, you know? Some things take a few times. Some things take whatever, but as long as you keep trying and until you get it and figure it out. And crap, you know, like, it's not always the easy road. I don't often get to take the easy road, but, you know, I find my way around.
Question for Ronda to your right. Congratulations. Can you speak about setting the record for the fastest finish in a UFC title fight? It was something that you came 1 second within tying in your last fight. Was that something you had given any thought? Was that a record that you wanted to hold, or was it just sort of a nice thing that happened tonight?
Well, it was something everybody on my team was teasing me about, but I wasn't taking it seriously. I honestly didn't think that I could top it. My mom got a 1 second armbar in the Austrian Open, though. And that's another record I could think about. Maybe Dana wouldn't be happy with me setting that one, but I can still try.
And then Dana, not to force you to speak about Cyborg again, but can you just give us an idea as like, you're a fight fan, and obviously after this weekend, seeing what Cyborg did, seeing what Ronda did, that's a fight that a lot of people are going to say, well, this is the fight. That's the fight to make. But yet it seems like you're throwing a lot of water on it. You know, just sort of your...
What do you mean by throwing water on it?
Well, it seems like...
Being honest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it just one of those things where you would like to see it, but you know that it's certain things would have to happen and it's just very unknown? Is
Yeah,
that
she
kind of
got to
what it is?
make the weight. There's nothing unknown about it. It's very known. If she makes the weight, she can make the fight. She looked nowhere near 135 last night. You know, she's got to make 135 pounds.
And then, Ronda, if you could speak about it, because it seems like, you know, with Chris fighting one day in front of you, you were asked about her a lot, and of course also you were asked a lot about Kat, but is that something that you're almost sick of, that there's sort of this Cyborg thing hovering over, and obviously you had a lot of respect for the opponent that you were fighting on Saturday, so would you almost like to get that fight out of the way just so that it's not hanging over any of your fights anymore?
Well, I really don't feel like anything's hanging over this fight tonight. I think that we took a women's main event and co-main event and sold out the Staples Center. There's nothing hanging over this. I'm very proud of what I did tonight. And people ask me the same questions repeatedly all the time, you know. So,
And let me say this. I'm going to say it. She'll never say it. I was waiting to see if she would say it in public. She won't say it in public. I'll say it. She asks me all the time. She's like, I'll fight her whenever she makes 130. She's got to make the weight. She will fight her in a minute if she makes 135 pounds. She wants to fight her. She's not saying it, but I'll tell you. I'll say it. She wants to fight her. You know what I mean? And like it's saying, it's not on Ronda. Ronda's 135 pounds. She's the world champion. She's breaking all these records, and she just said it. Staples Center. She's going all these places. Cyborg has to make the weight. Make 135 pounds, and this fight will happen.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
I've got a question for you, Ronda. Your coach, Edmund, has said that he thought you were capable of a 5-second knockout. You beat Alexis Davis in 16. Tonight you were victorious in 14. Are you ever able to surprise your own self? You're such a confident woman. Have you ever done anything that surprised yourself?
surprise. No. I mean, even in fights, I'll make up stuff off the top of my head that usually... No, I'm not surprised at all when I'm in a fight because I know they're chaotic and anything could happen. You know, even Kat coming at me right away, it was like I was surprised enough where I was planning on if she did it, I would try to get her with a check left hook, and I didn't. So I was surprised, but I improvised. So, I mean, there's a difference between things not going exactly according to how you thought they would and being surprised.
Dana, I have a question for you. A couple, actually. Did I just read lips correctly and say that you leaned over and told Alan Jouban you were going to give him a bonus as well?
Oh my God, what are you, FBI? Yeah, these guys, all the guys that I said earlier,
Yeah.
the guys had great fights and that didn't get bonus, they're going to get.
Well, very nice. I spoke to him the other day about the fight in
I
Louisiana.
gotta start talking like the football coaches.
I like our favorite coach. I know is angling for a fight in Louisiana. He's a homeboy there. Is that something you think you could make happen for him? He didn't really take much damage tonight.
I have no idea. We'll see. I don't know.
And lastly, for you, what did you make of the stare down between Anthony Rumble Johnson and John Jones this afternoon? How surprised were you?
Yeah, they got me. They got me. It was funny. Very funny.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Dana. Holly wasn't the only name that Ronda mentioned after her win. She also mentioned Betch Correa. And Betch was backstage today saying she'd basically do anything to get a title shot. How realistic is that from your perspective at this point?
Yeah, she came up and said, I want to go into the octagon after Ronda fights, and I want to get in her face, and I want to do this and that, and I want to fight Ronda. And then Jessica, I said, if anybody gets that fight over me, I'm whooping somebody's ass. And everybody wants to fight her, so it's a good problem to have.
Who's crazier for a title fight, Vitor Belfort or Betch Correa?
Betche is pretty aggressive. She's been pretty aggressive about a fight. She's undefeated. I don't know. We'll see what happens. You know, Ronda doesn't really worry about it. Ronda will fight anybody. Anytime we call and say, how about this one? Yep. How about that one? Yep. She'll fight anybody. So we'll figure it out. And
then if I could continue to harp on the subject, you mentioned to ESPN to Brett, or actually Brett wrote this the other day. UFC executives were involved in the negotiation of Cyborg's contract extension, but her fight purses are paid for by Invicta. What does that mean? I mean, what does that mean you guys were involved in the negotiation for her contract extension?
I said that?
No, Lorenzo said that.
Oh, you're going to have to ask Lorenzo then.
Can you
Get out of that one.
I mean, what is Cyborg's status with Zuffa at this moment?
I don't know. Call Lorenzo on Monday. Talk to him.
Thanks.
He's all bummed out. He had one question and I didn't answer it. I'm sorry.
Question for Holly. Holly, heard what you said in the cage after you've had a while to think about it. How do you feel about your performances, the good, the bad, and what do you need to improve?
Well, I'm never completely satisfied with any fight I've ever had. I always look at it and see what I can do to improve. If there's things that I had to look that I did good, because I try to stay more on the positive side. We worked a lot on takedown defense and clinch work, and I felt fine in those areas tonight. But some of the stuff that I want to do better, I didn't really sit down on my punches like I wanted to tonight. There's a lot of things I want to do better, and I know I'm capable of more, so I'm not 100% satisfied with my performance. But I will take the things that I know I did well and take them with me and try and improve on all the others.
Another question for Holly here. I was talking to your team after your fight, and I recalled you saying earlier this week that you get very nervous before your fights. That's something that is normal for you. If you're not nervous, that feels weird. And they said you didn't feel nervous tonight. Is that accurate, and why do you think that is?
I felt good tonight. I felt good going in there, but I think that's just been, if I had to look at it as a whole, there's just a lot kind of going into this fight. I usually fight. My average is 4 times a year. In 2013, I had 6 fights in 12 months, and last year I had 1. Because in my fight, I had a broken arm. Then when I had my UFC debut, I got a herniated disc in my neck. So having this be my first UFC fight isn't just the first UFC fight. It's my first time back in after ever having to have any kind of postpone for any injury. I've never had any injuries to take me out of a fight in my entire career. So there's just been a lot. And then, moving to the co-main event, I think there's just been, it's kind of been like one thing after another just really piled on. And so I still felt good. I felt great. I felt healthy. I have no complaints. I had a great training camp. But and I felt good. The nerves are there for sure. I don't think that, I mean, if I said they weren't, I would just be lying to you. So they were there. And I think I dealt with them okay for how much I kind of felt coming in, but I hope to show something better for you next time.
Just a couple more, if I can. I wanted to ask you, Kyle, it's been a long road for you. You haven't been here in quite some time. Two things. Do you think if you don't win that one-night tournament in October that you wouldn't have gotten into the UFC? And is it still a little, people who have been around the sport have seen you with Bigfoot and, Bryant Stan with all these guys, but you were kind of on the outside looking in. Does it still seem a bit surreal to be back here, winner's circle with all these great fighters?
I can't put words how I'm feeling right now to come back for the organization, In my mind, I should never leave. But anyways, these 7 years, I trained a lot of those guys, and Bigfoot, Bryant Stan, and keeping hustling day by day, and I'm here. God reserved something for me, and I think I'm impressed for my performance tonight to take one top guy in the other division, middleweight, and I'm really happy to be here again.
And for Ronda, you mentioned that you're going to go out and film a movie next. Which movie is that?
I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it yet. Is this working? Oh, I guess it is. Yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to say about it yet, but yes, I'm going to make a movie, but I'm not going to say anything about it, I guess.
All right. And then last one for Dana. I know you're a big sports fan and boxing fan. You saw the Floyd
Super Bowl? Yeah.
Floyd, no, I didn't.
Oh, no?
No, that's old.
Oh.
The Floyd news makes one think that there could be peace in the Middle East if they could get that done. Cyborg Ronda, the equivalent of Floyd Manny for women's MMA. Does that?
Oh, I thought you said Boston fan. Boxing fan.
Boxing, yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make you say,
Floyd, listen,
we need to get this done?
What I don't want to do is shit on the Floyd and Manny fight.
No, I'm not.
I'm buying tickets to the thing. I want to
We're
go
not-
to it. It should have happened 5 years ago.
But it inspires everyone to think that things could get done because that felt like they were moons apart. So do you feel
But the
like
difference is, guys, you, ESPN, guys, those two are both making the weight. It's not a weight issue. This is a serious weight issue here. That's the issue. You know what I mean? If Cyborg fought last night and she was 135 pounds, yeah, we'd be talking about this right now.
Did you speak to her last night? Did you have a chance to talk to her?
I did not.
I know you don't want to talk too much about her deal, but I want to ask if you can confirm.
I don't
this.
know anything about a deal with her.
Well, what I heard was the deal that she has with Invicta is 145, which was last night. The second fight would be 135 in July, and then she would come to the UFC if she can make that 135.
Well, then you know more than me. What are you asking me then?
Can you confirm that? I don't know. It's not from you.
He just asked me the same question. Did you just get here?
No. Well, I didn't.
Did you not hear him ask me that question?
Exactly the same. I mean, not with those details.
Does anybody else want to ask me this question? No?
No.
No? That's it?
Well, no, I wanted to know if you can confirm that was the plan.
I just told you. I don't know.
Okay.
You and him can three-way call Lorenzo on Monday.
What's his number? Can you tell us his number? Thank you.
Thanks, Jake, a question for you. I don't know how you're feeling right now after the fight, what type of shape you're in, if you need clearance. But if everything were to go according to the way you'd want it to, are you looking to get back in as soon as possible now that you got back in the win column? Is keeping momentum something real important to you right now, or not necessarily?
No, definitely. I want to stay active. I've had times in my career where I've been out for a year, and it's tough. It's tough to come back. So I'd like to stay active. I didn't take any damage tonight. So yeah, I'll talk to Dana and see what's next.
Thanks. And a question for Holly. Holly, did those nerves you're talking about go away once you were in the middle of a scrap, or do you feel them kind of just all the way through?
I mean, once the first punches are thrown, I think any fighter will tell you you're finally just into it. The walkout's over, you're in there. The first punches are thrown, you're in the fight, and it's fine. There's still that little bit that was behind me, like, oh man, I really want to live up to what everybody else is expecting, but I really don't want to, push myself into a bad position. So it was just kind of, that's kind of in your mind the whole time. I didn't really, I wasn't really thinking like, am I nervous still? Am I not? So my mind really wasn't there. But I'm just, every fight gives ring experience or cage experience. This is my first octagon experience, and so I feel like I'll feel more settled in the next fight. It's not any kind of excuse or anything like that. I felt fine when I was in there. I just, in any stage, whether it was there or in practice, I feel like there's room to improve always. I don't ever feel any different. I leave practice in the gym and I think, oh man, I still didn't do everything I wanted to do today. And that's just kind of where I am right now. I just always want to improve and get better. For me, I want to feel satisfied someday. I don't know if I ever will, but someday.
Thanks. One last question, if I can, for Hukao. Do you want to stay at middleweight, or do you want to go back to welterweight now that you don't have a short notice thing?
I'm probably gonna plan to come down to welterweight.
We'll take one more question. All right, we'll take two more. We'll get you two, Dave. I'll answer why Brock Lesnar was here tonight. I know that's what you're going to ask me.
I have a question for Jucão as well. I just want to know, like, can you talk about the submission itself? Like, how did you feel that he was already sleeping? Because you actually told the referee, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I felt when he passed out, and I called the referee and tell him he's passed, and the referee took a couple seconds to break the fight, but I felt, he's passed in my arms, and I let it go. And I'm happy. The boss told me, don't got the performance, but something good's coming.
Okay, real quick, Tony. Is there anyone in particular, or any type of fighter, or ranked level fighter that you want to take on next? Now that you're coming off of a series of wins.
We were taking a look in the back of the top 10. I'm ready for every one of them. I'm going to pick them off all from the bottom all the way up to the top. So when I get there, there will be no questions. I will be the champ.
Do you have any name or 2 or 3 names that you're looked at and go, hey, this is the ones I really am focused on? Or
look at your phone. You know the top 10. I see them too. You got Bobby Green all the way through everyone. I know the names. Everybody's changing right now, but I'm ready. I'm ready to sign on dotted line. Let's go.
Okay, cool. And Dana, you already know the question, so.
Apparently, Brock Lesnar is a UFC fan, and he was in town and wanted to come see the fight tonight.
Okay.
Okay? He's under contract with the WWE, and when his contract is up, I'm sure he'll call me. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. Have a great night.